Hello, guys, and welcome to Odds on Champions League match day 3. Let's analyze with Alvaro, with Dani, the games we have on Wednesday. Hello, guys, and of course, with our audience. Remember to leave your comments, give us your tips for this new match day. And of course, press the like and subscribe to our channel. And this is getting very interesting with the games we have on Wednesday. We are going to start with Group E, and actually it's one of the most interesting groups because we have Milan on top of it with 4 points and Chelsea with 1. But first, we are going to start analyzing Salzburg, Dinamo Zagreb, since this is the early kickoff, with Salzburg being very competitive in this Champions League. Alvaro with 2 points, with a good image against the big teams, against Chelsea and against Milan, especially at home. We know that Salzburg are strong. They were also very strong last season. And Dinamo Zagreb also, they are fighting, but they are weaker when they are traveling against big teams in the Champions League. Probably that's why we see these odds of 1.75 for Salzburg. In your opinion, too low or good to back Salzburg at home?
Well, I think that is good to back Salzburg at home. Maybe the odds are a little bit below, in my opinion. Yeah, because Dinamo Zagreb is doing very well, because they have had a very good start in the Champions League, because they beat Chelsea. I mean, they got 3 points, one more than Salzburg, but Salzburg has shown finesse, a know-how against Chelsea and against Milan, because they haven't lost against them. So I think that this is the time really for Salzburg to step up and to try to collect 6 points and be in a very nice position ahead of the game week 5. Let's not forget that now this game is going to repeat itself in the next one. It's back-to-back games against Dinamo Zagreb. So yeah, I think that I could back Red Bull Salzburg here, even though Dinamo Zagreb, as I said, they've done superbly, really. And even against Milan, I think Milan didn't find it too easy to beat them. So, something like Salzburg winning will be okay. Yes, okay. I think that is little money, but still okay. Normally, you give these odds to the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona when they are playing at home. But, this is the Champions League, and I have seen that the odds for the big teams at home normally are really ridiculously low as well. Over 2.5 goals, I like this one, despite Zagreb being a decent defensive unit, but over 2.5 goals pays 183. And I also like the individual market of Benjamin Sesko to score, because normally the good players to score pay around 175, 183, something like that. Well, Benjamin Sesko, in my opinion, is in that category. He's one of those good players as well. So if he plays, so check the latest news, of course, Benjamin Sesko to score 2.4 sounds to me like a generous one as well. But I'm going to back other than that, Salzburg to win and over 2.5 goals.
Salzburg, they are not in great form, Dani. They drew 4 out of the last 5 games.
Yeah, it's true. They're not in a great form, whereas Dinamo Zagreb are, because domestically they're doing really well. They got 10 wins, 1 draw, 34 goals scored in Croatia, average more than 3 goals per game. I think they show good stuff against Chelsea, against Milan, a very good technique up front, Orsic and Petkovic combining, this can be really dangerous. But as Alvaro said, they are a counter-attacking team. They don't tend to dominate the possession. They tend to sit back and then hit you with very quick break. In fact, they are second from bottom for attempts. And actually against Milan, the manager, Kacic, was criticized for the way he set up the team, too defensive, and the substitutions were a little bit late. Maybe they could have tried something different. Let's see if they do it, because I mean they got a good opportunity here to get some points on the table. They already got 3 points, so even if they manage a draw here, they will still be in a good position. And they play this game having rested at the weekend, because the game against Istra has been postponed. So it's a back-to-back race to Salzburg for them, where they can focus completely on this game. You mentioned earlier, when they travel away, Dinamo Zagreb, they're not great. They haven't won away in the Champions League since 1998. Salzburg at home in the Champions League, they're very good. They're unbeaten in 5 games at home. Remember last year against Bayern, they did really well in the group. They negotiated really well. So it is a team that at home I think is getting more and more experience. I think both teams are going to open up a little bit here. We know Salzburg have got good scoring players. Dinamo Zagreb should go and try and get something out of the game. I'm going to go for an over 2.5 goals, 185.
We have better odds for the over than for the Salzburg to win. For instance, if someone has some doubts, it's better to for over. And the interesting game, one of the better games, I would say, the best games in this match days, Chelsea Milan, also very important for the standings, because if Salzburg win the game against Zagreb, Chelsea especially, they will be in trouble, and the odds for Chelsea are very low, 1.8. I'm surprised to see these low odds, Dani. I wouldn't trust Chelsea because they are winning here and there as they did against Crystal Palace, but they are not playing well. And Milan, the problem for Milan, Dani, is that Tatarusanu is there instead of Maignan, and the Romanian is not really reliable. Will he play also against Chelsea? Otherwise, I can see Milan grabbing points from Stamford Bridge.
I think Milan, compared to Chelsea, have got a stronger identity and a stronger belief as a team. They are more cohesive. They play more of a team. At Chelsea, of course, with a new manager, they're more in transition. At the weekend, they were to you. He's going to play against Empoli. He was okay. It's not much his goalkeeping that is the issue. I think his goalkeeping is good. It's more about the distribution that Maignan is so outstanding with the hands and with the feet. But of course, he's going to play. But Milan has got a lot of injuries. They're going to miss the two fullbacks, Hernandez and Calabria. They're going to miss Kjaer. They're going to miss Salemakers, who's going to miss the World Cup as well, and Messias. So, they got a lot of injuries there. But when it comes to Milan and their replacement, because they got such a strong identity, such a strong mentality, they never give up. Even the replacement, well, they did well last season, and they did well at Empoli. Ballo Touré, the left back, went on to score the winner in stoppage time. It is true that the away form of Milan has been a little bit hit and miss, and they have suffered against teams that impose a high rhythm. So they suffer against Salzburg, for example, away. They suffer against Atalanta this season early. Also against Empoli, that is a team that keeps the ball well and playing the opposition half. They had some issues. They can only beat them really in the end. But you cannot write them off, never write off Milan. The concern is that there are some individual mistakes at the back. They only kept 2 clean sheets so far. Last season, overall, they kept 17, so they're far off the level of defense that they had last season. Confident. They found a goal also from Pobega from the bench. And if you look at the players at the moment that is really in form for Milan, is Rafael Leao. In Serie A, he's unstoppable when he goes on his left foot, when he cuts in with his right foot. Really, it's very difficult to stop. And I think he's going to give the Chelsea backline a lot of problem, especially the central defenders, if they're not switched on. And we saw Thiago Silva the weekend suffering a little bit. Very difficult to go for the full-time market. I think the odds for Chelsea are way, way too low. Combine them, go both to score, because again, I think Milan are susceptible to mistakes, and over 2.5 goals. That give you 360. If that's too much for you, put half a unit. That's my idea. Put a half a unit so you can always soften the blow in case you do lose. But yeah, both to score over 2.5 goals.
Leao scored a beauty against Empoli. What a clinical definition. The last one, Alvaro, you are not convinced as well with this new Chelsea. I guess Graham Potter needs more time, of course.
He needs more time, yeah. Even though this Chelsea wasn't a terrible team when the previous manager, Thomas Tuchel, left. I think that there were many good ideas in there. I think that a few players were still at the top of their careers as well. And I think that this Chelsea is going to be in a decent place. They just need a little bit of time. And the other day, for example, they won against Crystal Palace in the last minute with Conor Gallagher scoring against his former side. But every win will reinforce the confidence of this new project of Graham Potter. The truth is that this Chelsea has a difference between last season and this season, which is, in my opinion, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. This guy is a factor. The player from Gabon, because Chelsea hasn't had a player who can score more than 20 goals a season since Diego Costa. Last season, for example, the best scorer of Chelsea in the Premier League was Mason Mount, and he scored 11 goals. 2 seasons ago, when they won the Champions League, they didn't have a recognizable scorer either. Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Ziyech were up front. None of them were particularly prolific. This season, they've got a prolific man like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and he's going to collect many points for Chelsea. And Raheem Sterling, almost the same thing. But I think that Aubameyang is more of an specialist up front, and he's going to do a terrific job for Chelsea. The other day, he scored against Crystal Palace his first goal for Chelsea too. So I think that this is going to be a factor for Chelsea, and probably in this Champions League group as well. Whereas Milan, yes, I mean, they started the group in a style. I mean, they've got 4 points, and they've got a great chance to beat a European champion, not in their prime, but in a good moment, because I've seen Chelsea in the past, for example, beating Celtic. Milan in the past beating Celtic not long ago. But I know that Celtic has been a European champion, but that was a long time ago. The last time they beat the European royalty, to put it some sort of way, and Atletico de Madrid is not that yet, because they beat them last year, was when they beat Barcelona in 2013. So a result like winning at Stamford Bridge, beating Chelsea there, a side that a year ago was the defending Champions League winner. I think that it will be brilliant for Milan, and it will be great for this project too. In the weekend, they beat Empoli. Of course, the casualties in the fullback positions are not great for Milan, but you have to play with the players you got. And I'm gonna back Milan to score 1 goal. I think that they can score at least 1, because Chelsea defensively hasn't been great this season. That doesn't pay a lot, but pays enough for me. 153 is almost like a safe bet, we can say. It's been a while that Chelsea doesn't have or hasn't left a clean sheet, especially this season. They haven't done it a lot. Both teams to score, obviously, is the natural consequence of that. I like it to 188, and Aubameyang to score, since I was backing him. Well, I tell you the odds, 2.1. But I think that from all the 3 ones I've given, maybe the best one in terms of money probability will be both teams to score, 188.
I like it. I mentioned before Tataru Sano. I think he could have done it better in Empoli's goal from a free kick in the weekend.
Yeah, he's on his post. Yeah, the free kick is on his post, but it's very. I mean, it was struck with pace. You can close one eye on that, I think. But yeah.
Well, interesting group. Next group we are going to analyze is Group F, and here we have a key game, Leipzig Celtic, because the loser almost go home, in my opinion, because we have Shakhtar with 4 points. It depends what Shakhtar is doing with Real Madrid. We expect them to lose both games, but perhaps they can grab a point, and especially Leipzig, they are under pressure with 0 points. They played well at the Bernabeu with Marco Rosa. Probably they deserve even a point, but they lost. So 0 points. And as I said, Alvaro, they are absolutely under pressure at home, where they are doing good with this new manager. They thrashed Bochum at the weekend. Bochum is very weak, but I guess they should deliver against Celtic, although Celtic could be dangerous, as they are showing also in this Champions League.
Yes. They are dangerous. I mean, they've got only 1 point, yes, but they have had a difficult calendar. The other day, for example, against Real Madrid, I think they did a very good first half in the game week 1. And, in the weekend, they beat Motherwell 2-1. It's a good preparation ahead of a game like this. Let's see if a couple of players important in their squad can feature, because they are doubtful for this game, like Cameron Carter-Vicker and Giacomakis, who should be okay for the game, but let's see. Celtic to win, obviously, catches my attention straight away, because that pays 6. I mean, it's really good money. And, Leipzig is not very secure bet, let's put it that way, as of late. The double chance, obviously, is the next thing that my eyes go to, pay 255. Not for me, but I think that many people will go for that one. Maybe even Daniele, I don't know, will know now. But for example, here I like some other markets. I'm not going to commit to the full-time market, really, because I think Leipzig is not in the best possible place. They've got 0 points. For example, I could go for both teams to score because Leipzig in the weekend have scored 4 against Bochum because Celtic can score away. Both teams to score 177. I like it. Let's not forget that in the Champions League, the average is 3 point a little bit goals so far. So I think that we have seen a lot of goals lately in the competition. Definitely over 2.5 goals is the average of the Champions League, and I think that Leipzig and Celtic in this case they are going to be coherent with that Champions League average that we have seen. And I like the individuals market here for Werner or Nkunku because both are well, both are playing good football, getting good numbers. Nkunku, we know that he's going to move to Chelsea probably next season. But yeah, the other day against Bochum, both scored a brace. So Werner to score or assist. I'm not going to go for scoring only. Werner to score or assist, 173. Same thing applies for Nkunku. So you can fill your boot with these two guys. I think that I'm going to back Werner to score or assist in this game, 173.
I like it. Werner scored a weekend. Goal number 181 with Leipzig in 149 games. So, with Leipzig has been a goal machine. Nkunku last season scored 35 goals in our competition, already scored 6 in the Bundesliga. And they are a good partnership, those two. Mm-hmm. They find each other quite well. At the Bernabeu, they had a few chances. I think also this history for Celtic is the same. Lot of missed chances against Real Madrid, lot of missed chances against Shakhtar, especially in the first half. They should have won that game. Then after 60 minutes, the performance level dropped a bit. But if you look at Celtic, it is a team that likes to play on the front foot. They like to keep the ball, quick transition. Sometimes they even play one-touch football to catch the opposition defense out of position. They are 14th for attempts in the Champions League. This is not bad for a Scottish side, considering which are the other teams in the Champions League. And so I think they're gonna attack. They're gonna have a lot of energy. They got a lot of intensity play that run a lot, that pressure high, the likes of Maeda, Jota, O'Reilly, Furuashi. These are young players, really, really fit. Also at the back, they got a bit of experience there with Juranovic, for example, is the right back for Croatia. So it's a good mix that Postecoglou has put together, and I like the way he transformed the team from a very direct team to a more possession-based, but without losing the intensity. At the weekend, it was okay against Emir, and I think they were a little bit tired because they had a lot of players coming back from international duties, especially the Japanese. And domestically, Celtic, they are great. They only lost one game in the last 39, which was 2 weeks ago when they lost against Amir. At the weekend, of course, they play Motherwell. But in the Champions League, only one win in the last 13 away games. So their away form is not great. But Leipzig, as I said, they score. They got a lot of quality, especially in the forwards position. And this without that they miss also Dani Olmo, but they got a lot of options there that they can rotate. The challenge for Rose is to make them more balanced. With Tedesco, they were playing such a high line. They were pushing so high. And sometimes they got punished from stupid mistakes. But I think Leipzig definitely does not deserve to have 0 point in the table. Over 2.75 goals, 187. So I'm expecting at least 3 goals in this one for you to win half a stake. More than 3 goals, you win 187.
A very important game, this one, to see who is going to the last 16 round. And I guess both Celtic and Leipzig will be cheering for Real Madrid playing against Shakhtar Donetsk. We are seeing this game very often in the last Champions League. And usually we see many goals. Dani, this Shakhtar, they are surprising us with 4 points. We thought they were going to be very poor in this edition of the Champions League, but with a full Ukrainian squad, they are scoring a lot, making entertaining games, and they are playing against Real Madrid, leaking in the La Liga. They are conceding in every single game, and they drop points for the very first time in this season. They drew on Sunday against Osasuna. What do you expect in this Real Madrid-Shakhtar? I guess goals at least.
Yeah, I would expect goals, and I would expect Real Madrid to bounce back and win comfortably this one, because I think Shakhtar have been good. Nobody expected much from Shakhtar at the beginning of the season for obvious reason, but they've been clinical against Leipzig, a little bit lucky. I think the 4-1 scoreline is a bit too much for them. The second half against Celtic was good. They got some good, very quick players in good form. One above all, Mudik, also Shved has been good. But, it's always difficult to judge because, okay, at the weekend they won 6-1 in the domestic league. But I don't think you can take the league form into account too much. Of course, they got a very good record
Same
against
thing
Real
applies
Madrid.
to Scotland, probably.
But Scotland...
It's not in a war scenario, but still.
No, luckily.
You put it in the Champions League and it doesn't work very well.
No, it's true. But if you look at what Rangers have done last season in Europa League, that gives a little bit of
exactly. Europe is the benchmark for
I think it's a
Rangers,
benchmark there. Yeah,
Scotland.
No, not really. But but for Shakhtar Donetsk, I mean, it is difficult to judge, obviously, and they got a good record against Madrid, but that was 3 years ago with completed a different outlet completely. I think the good news for Shakhtar Donetsk is they're getting back a few players from injury, and especially Lassina Traoré, who last season they signed from Ajax. He was the big signing of the Zerbi, had an horrible injury to his knee playing the game against Inter, so he was out for the season. Then the season stopped. Now he's back and he's scoring 2 games back-to-back. Last season he scored 9 goals in 14 games, and he gives them something different, a very good physical presence there. I think it could be a good combination with Mudik. But I think Real Madrid, despite their problems at the weekend against Osasuna, they're going to have a professional display, and I think they're going to win, and they're going to win with a clean sheet. 187.
Real Madrid won both games, Alvaro, last season. Shakhtar won both games 2 seasons ago.
Yes, because they were a very good side, and I think that they had some of the most distinct styles in the Champions League. The possession football of Shakhtar was very good. They could dominate you for long phases. Their passing accuracy was excellent. Second to none in the Champions League. The stats are there. You can go to the UEFA Champions League website, and you will see that in the last 2 seasons, Shakhtar Donetsk has been one of the good passing sides in the Champions League. However, they are different now because they have lost all the Brazilian players, and because they've got a new manager like Jovicevic, and because they are putting into practice a different style of football. So, I think that Shakhtar, they are more reactive now. Still, they have scored many goals in the Champions League so far, and this is something to take into account. I think that scoring 5 goals in the Champions League so far is quite something. They scored 4 against Leipzig. That was the game that ended up the stint of the previous Celtic Leipzig manager, and then Leipzig had to change the manager and all that. So I think this Shakhtar is a decent side, still a decent side. But they are playing at Santiago Bernabeu. Normally Real Madrid doesn't have dips of form in the ground. The thing against Osasuna happened because Karim Benzema missed a penalty, and because Osasuna, it's one of the good sides of La Liga right now. But when was the last time Real Madrid lost a game? Well, I think that against Manchester City, they lost a football game, but then after that they have won every single game, or every game that they cared about, because they won the league so early that then at the end of the La Liga season they could rest it a little bit. But this season, for example, they've been unbeaten so far, Real Madrid. They've got defensive solidity in the Champions League because they haven't conceded a single goal. I think that this Real Madrid is about taking it seriously in the big moments, and they still do, and that's why they haven't conceded a single goal in the Champions League. Let's see how they perform. I think that Karim Benzema is not in his best form yet. No. The other day he missed a penalty, but he still looked a little bit leggy, and is completely normal because he's been out for a while. Vinicius is the biggest threat of Real Madrid, still, to the point that I think that Real Madrid sometimes uses him too much. They tend to pass the ball to the left wing where Vinicius is, and sometimes the opponents know how to defend that because they just make sure that there are like 3 or 4 players surrounding Vinicius, and then for him it's more difficult to do his tricks and to do his dribbling. But anyway, generally speaking, let's see if Thibaut Courtois plays, because this is important as well. I think that Thibaut Courtois is one of the reasons why Real Madrid won the Champions League last season, let alone the final. So, I think that this is going to be be kind of important for this game, for the goals market. If you back a clean sheet, well, if Thibaut Courtois is not there, it's more difficult to get a clean sheet. But generally speaking, this shouldn't affect too much the result of the game, in my opinion. Courtois or not, Real Madrid is favorite. So I'm going to make a small combination here in order to maximize a little bit more my bet, which is Real Madrid to win plus over 2.5 goals in the game. Altogether, it's not a lot, I know, but still 166, and in my opinion, this is not too compromising.
Still no Modric for Real Madrid. And in Group G, very difficult to find good odds here. We have Man City Copenhagen 1.08. Man City to win after seeing the Manchester Derby. Alvaro, perhaps we should go as our friend Ton is suggesting us Haaland to score a hat-trick. He mentioned that actually in our previous show in the Manchester Derby, and he was absolutely right. Which odds have you found here that are good? Because everything is very low, and of course we have to back Man City here.
Yes, of course. And because Copenhagen is not in a great position either. I mean, they are sixth in their local league, far away from the top of the table. It's true that in the weekend they won 1-0 only with the goal from Lerager. But, you know, this is the time to back Manchester City. I was commentating on the game yesterday. I mean, the first 45 minutes of Manchester City were not only 45 minutes of superiority, they were 45 minutes of different concept of football completely. Manchester United is trying to find their own style. I know that Ten Hag has his own style, but he made the results prevail over the style over the last month and a half, whereas Manchester City has the results and has had the style for 5 or 6 years. This season, the difference with Manchester City is that there is Erling Haaland, and therefore, when we analyze a game from Manchester City, we don't analyze the tactics anymore. We don't point at Pep Guardiola and we say, we're going to analyze the game through your eyes. This year is more simple than all that. There is a player in Manchester City who is outstanding, and every game analysis starts from Erling Haaland. I mean, and I don't know if it happens to you guys, but when I watch Manchester City, my eyes are on Haaland constantly. When Manchester City has the ball, when Manchester City doesn't have the ball, when Haaland accelerates, when Haaland goes to the space, when he takes a shot, when the ball goes to the box, all my eyes go to Haaland because he's performing and he has scored 17 goals in 11 games, which is astonishing. And the truth is that you know, I don't know where the limits of this guy are, but I will say that there hasn't been a more prolific goal scorer in football history at such young age since Puskás. Puskás' precocity was tantamount, equivalent to Haaland's one. But Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, and many more players that you can think of, they weren't that prolific when they were that young. Maybe Ronaldo, the Brazilian, was like this, but he wasn't scoring 1 goal per game, which Haaland has been doing for 3 years now. It's astonishing, really. Kevin De Bruyne is finding him very well and is creating a good partnership to the point that he doesn't need to send very good balls to Haaland. He just needs to send the ball to Haaland, and he's got such a reach that he's going to get any ball you send him. It's astonishing, really. So for this game, it's difficult to find the value because I think that Manchester City are going to win it. Manchester City to win at 30 minutes, it's okay. That pays 162. There is an speculative factor of the time, only 30 minutes, but you can go for it. Manchester City to win and over 3.5 goals. This is my favorite one, actually. 173. I like this one too. And of course, Haaland to score, it will pay in the region of 1.5, more or less. I haven't found the odds yet, but Haaland to score 1.5 will be kind of a safe bet. But as I said before, Manchester City at home, they are scoring plenty of goals. You know about that. So Manchester City to win and then to score over 3.5 goals, I like it, 173.
I think, I mean, the stats with Man City are just amazing. Just one to round it up. They are the first team in the Premier League to win 8 consecutive home games, scoring more than 3 goals or more each time. So 36 goals in the last 8 consecutive home Premier League games. Unbeaten in the Champions League at home since 21 games. I mean, the numbers of Haaland, it's just boring to say. 132 goals in 127 club games. But let's praise a little bit also the other Manchester City player, not only De Bruyne, not only Bernardo Silva, but Akanji and Ake, for example, at the back. What a good partnership they are. They carry the ball very well. They start the attacks. They basically become additional attackers. And I think Akanji has been a very good addition for Manchester City. What happened with Manchester City against Dortmund is that they won a game that they normally didn't used to win by going behind, suffering a lot, finding a little bit scrappy. I think they did well, especially in Europe. They find it harder in the last few seasons to win that sort of games, and they did. The problem with, again, when you play against Man City is basically you almost have to beat them twice. You need to go 1-0 up, then pretend you're still 0-0, and beat them again. If you stop playing and if you stop producing attacks as Dortmund did after 75 minutes, you're going to get beaten. Are Copenhagen able to do that?
No.
A team that no, of course. A team that hasn't scored in 6 of the last 10 away games? No way. So Manchester City are going to win this one. I'm going to win the next one. They're going to qualify for the knockout stages, and they're going to start rotating players as Pep has already done in the second half with Manchester United. But Haaland stayed 90 minutes. The bet: Manchester City to win the first half. That pays ridiculously low anyway, and over 3 goals. So similar to what Alvaro said. That gives you a little bit better return, 193. So you would hope Manchester City score a couple in the first half, then another in the second half, and you win this bet 193. Otherwise, is a big pass for me.
Indeed. 5-0 to Man City, no? As Tom usually says. If you go for exact score, at least Copenhagen not to score. 0 goals for Copenhagen, also 0 goals for Sevilla. Very interesting game we have in the Sánchez Pizjuán. Dani, Sevilla, Borussia Dortmund. At this time, Lopetegui is still Sevilla's manager, even after the defeat against Atlético de Madrid. They are still looking for a replacement because only beat Espanyol in the last 9 games in a very poor form for Sevilla. Dortmund is slightly favorites, still good odds for Dortmund. Dani, perhaps they are not even more favorite because away they've lost the last 3.
Yeah, away this season, 1-2, lost 3, lost at the weekend 3-2 to Köln. Then after this game, they host Bayern Munich. As I said, we did okay against Manchester City, but then they stopped attacking after 70 minutes, and you cannot do that. But, they got a lot of praise, even for keeping Haaland a little bit quiet at the Etihad. They don't score much, obviously, because they don't have the main striker, Sebastian Haller. Only scored 11 goals domestically, Borussia Dortmund. So normally the wins are very small margin, but Terzic keep insisting with Anthony Modeste. Only 1 goal in 9 games so far this season. Maybe it should be dropped. They missed a lot of chances at the weekend. They are 4th in the table. They are not in great form. Neither is Sevilla, to be fair. I'm going to go for under 1 goals in the first half, 2-12. So either 1-0, you get the money back, actually 0-0, and you get 2-12.
I wouldn't be ready to back Sevilla at all, Alvaro.
Me neither. I mean, this is not an explosion. This is not a crisis that has erupted yesterday. Not at all. Last season, we were talking that Sevilla's away form in 2022 was appalling. Last season, Sevilla loses to West Ham in the London Stadium, offering a very poor image as well. So that Sevilla wasn't good enough already. Monchi wanted to replace the manager. He couldn't find a replacement. He stuck to Lopetegui. And, this is what happens when you don't trust the manager, when the players probably don't trust the manager either, when the manager looks like a dead man walking. Well, this happens. And Sevilla, unfortunately, they are in a terrible place right now. They have to play back-to-back games with Dortmund, and I'm not discarding them. That's the thing. I think that they can still get points against them and have a slight chance of qualifying for the Champions League, because Dortmund, they are not the most reliable team in the world either. 2 years ago, Sevilla and Dortmund played against each other, and if it wasn't for Haaland, Sevilla would have qualified, but that Sevilla was better than this Sevilla.
Of course.
The truth is that, there are a few numbers that have to be said here. Number 1, Borussia Dortmund has had 5 clean sheets this season. They have played 10 competitive games. It's not too bad for a team that has the reputation of being leaky. So that has to be on them as well, despite them not being very prolific this season. That is true as well. But the style, for whatever the reason, is less extreme in Borussia Dortmund, or the results are less extreme. They don't score so many. They don't concede so many regularly. When it comes to Sevilla, well, they are a disaster. The defense is not working. The attack is not working either. Their number 9 is not scoring many goals. They've got an old squad, and the young players are way too young. So I'm going to go for the following, maybe an Asian handicap of minus 0.25 for Dortmund. I think that this is about right. It pays 2.15, and it's decent money, because it means that if Dortmund wins, you win. And if they draw, you get only half a lose. Considering Sevilla's situation, this is doable.
The second goal conceded against Atletico de Madrid is a joke completely from Sevilla's defense. And the last group we have to analyze is Group H. Here we have PSG Benfica with 6 points. So let's analyze this game. Very good one in Duluth. Very good odds if you are back in Benfica because they are a good team. Actually, they are good in Portugal. They are good in the Champions League, also beating Juventus. But Alvaro, this PSG this season is way more reliable than last season with the trio scoring and playing really good. What a beauty, scored by Leo Messi, also scoring free kicks now with PSG.
Yeah, it was a little bit annoying to see that Messi was assisting, playing well, but not getting supply. Sometimes hitting the crossbar, the post, not scoring free kicks despite playing very well. But finally, he's back into scoring. In fact, he has scored 7 goals in his last 5 football appearances. Both with PSG and Argentina, and he's back to his scoring numbers, which is brilliant for PSG as well. Mbappe in the Champions League is doing very well too, of course, and he has scored 3 goals already. He's the joint top scorer of the competition with Haaland and with Lewandowski. So these guys are going to fight probably for the Champions League top scorer trophy. But anyway, for this game, I find it more leveled than it may look on paper because Benfica is having a really good start of the season. It's true that Benfica. It's true that they won't break Sven-Goran Eriksson's record of 15th straight wins at the beginning of the season because Benfica got a draw in the weekend. They dropped points against Guimaraes, but still, this is a very competitive side. They went to Juventus ground. They deserve to beat them. And I think that for this game, I'm going to stick only to the goals market. I really think that this can happen. And I'm going to stick to the second half, in fact. Over 1.5 goals in the second half. I like this one too. 1.7. This is very good. And maybe a double chance for Benfica if you believe that they can scrap something here and there. That pays 2.12. Not for me, but it's worth mentioning that the double chance for them is 2.12, and they have had a terrific start of the season.
Yeah, they are still 3 points on Braga and Porto, so they start the season very well. They score more than 2 goals per game domestically. They are a very well-coached side, a mixture of experienced players and young players that have got that courage to take people on. In Turin against Juventus, they started badly, but then they controlled the game. They didn't go there to defend at all. I wonder if they're going to have the same approach. Players like Rafa Silva, Neres, they terrorized the Juventus defense, and they were worthy winners in the end. I think they can cause PSG some issues there. They won 5 of the last 6 home games in the Champions League Benfica, so it's not an easy ground to go there. PSG, of course, they don't lose often in the group stages, only lost 1 of the last 11 in the group stages. That was to Man City. But I think Benfica here could nick a goal. So, okay, maybe PSG is obviously favorite, but I like the second half. And if you like in the second half double chance, you can go for 1x in the second half. That pays 181, which means PSG might well win the game if they win the first half. But I think Benfica is going to give them some issues there. So second half, double chance, 1x, 181.
Okay, Mbappe rested at the weekend. Then he came into the pitch and he scored a goal against Nice. 7 consecutive victories for PSG. So they are in great form. Dani, 6 points for Benfica, for PSG, 0 for Juventus and Maccabi Haifa. So Juventus to have an option to qualify, they have to win both games against Maccabi. At least they bounce back against Bologna after a really poor start of the season. Have they improved apart from the result 3-0 against Bologna?
They have, because they attacked more and they played football more in the opposition half. But to be fair, Bologna wasn't a great test. He proposed nothing and he created nothing against Juventus. They had an easy life after they opened the scoring with Kostic. In the second half, they cruised. So, it's good for the morale, of course, because that's the first time that they score more than 2 goals since the 14th of August when they beat Sassuolo. So they've been really, really stingy. And we need to highlight the fact that there are some Juventus players that are really in good form. One above all is is Milik. What a signing has been. I think already 5 goals so far this season. He's a very good partner with Vlahovic. He takes the ball on. He attracts defenders, creates the spaces, and Vlahovic has got less responsibility and more space to run on. Also Kostic having a good game. I think now Juventus are getting back some of the best players. They're still waiting for Pogba, Chiesa. Di Maria should be back from his suspension in the league, so he's going to play this one. The question is, how does Allegri play Di Maria, Vlahovic, and Milik together? I'm not sure there is space for all the three of them. I don't think they're going to lose this one because, they play an opposition that is weaker. Maccabi never won away in the Champions League. And I think maybe a bit of pressure now is out. Juventus are going to start maybe having those professional displays, those win to nils. They're going to get them back on track. I don't think they're going to qualify for the next round of the Champions League. Over 3 goals here, 2. So it's a bit of a parachute. Finish 3-0 or 2-1. You get your money back. Over 3 goals, 2.
Juventus then fighting to get into the Europa League against Maccabi Haifa. Do you see Juventus in trouble, Alvaro? Maccabi put a fight against PSG.
I think that Juventus has been very lucky with the calendar, really, because having the back-to-back games against the weakest side is the best thing that can happen to you, really. Because now, I'm not saying that this is going to be a dawdle, super easy, but I think that Juventus can get 6 points. And if they get 6 points, let's don't forget that PSG and Benfica, they are going to take points from each other. So they are going to be back on track. So yeah, I think that Juventus can still qualify. I really do. And, they had a terrible start, but they are correcting it to the point that they are better off than Inter in Serie A.
Yeah, they are.
Something that considering how bad they started, they are better than Inter now, and little by little they are climbing on the table. The weekend they beat Bologna 3-0. Daniele said with the goals from Kostic, from Milic, from Dusan Vlahovic as well. And Maccabi Haifa, yes, they won domestically in the weekend, but I still believe that Juventus is going to make it here. So I'm going to go for a combination, Juventus to win and over 2.5 goals. That pays 173. Good enough, I think.
Okay, everything is analyzed. Let's finish the video with your safe bet, Alvaro.
Juventus and over 1.5 goals. I'm going to lessen what I just said. Juventus and over 1.5 goals, 144.
Trusting Allegri's men. And Dani, your safe bet?
Leipzig Celtic goals, over 2.5 goals, 171.
Okay, Dani, and your ACCA for this Wednesday?
Salzburg, Dinamo Zagreb, over 1.5 goals. Chelsea, Milan, over 2 goals. Juventus win. Real Madrid to win the first half. Total odds, 4.
I like this. Alvaro, your ACCA?
Yeah, very easy. It will be Real Madrid to win and over 2.5 goals. Juventus and over 1.5 goals. Milan to score 1 goal or more. And Manchester City to win at 30 minutes. Total 592, but I will top it up with Haaland scoring, and then you will get over 6.
Okay, then let's enjoy the Champions League. Thanks for the video, Dani, Alvaro, for your knowledge. Remember to comment the video with us and press the like and subscribe. We are already 10,000, so let's push it more. Thanks, guys. See you.
See ya.
See you.